You're listening to a very special podcast. Don't forget to subscribe via iTunes or YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at verypodcast and check out our website of veryspecialpodcast.tumblr.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special podcast. This is the podcast in which we talk about all of your favorite television series from yesteryear and then discuss them over a glass of wine. I'm Patrick M. Dunn. You probably remember me from the previous 49 episodes, and I'm joined here by my cohort, Kat Halstead, the author, and this is a very special episode of a very special podcast. This is a monumental episode. We made it to episode 50.
I know, I can't believe it. That is insane. How did we do that?
We have not got tired of this yet, although we've taken some breaks here and there.
Yeah, we have, but, life got in the way.
Mental health breaks. We just got tired of TV.
How many moves did we have between us? 3 or 4?
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of moves. This is a bi-coastal podcast.
Yes. I'm not even on a coast. I'm landlocked.
You're mountain time.
Yeah.
Welcome to the mountains. Anyway, if you have not listened to the previous 49 episodes, please feel free to check out our website, averyspecialpodcast.tumblr.com. All of our episodes are there, and other interesting tidbits.
Yes, we gotta add. I've got some to add, I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, we had this dream of, making it, we're gonna put recipes there. I don't know why we decided that.
That was because we were gonna put, sangria recipes and stuff, but we didn't. And then I stopped drinking.
Yeah, you became a non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
You just leave the wine part of this podcast just to me and me alone.
Yeah, I've got a juice pouch. Does that count for anything? It's like Capri Sun.
Is it grape flavored?
It is actually apple.
Oh. I guess there's apple ciders, hard ciders.
Yeah.
That you could pretend it is. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The audience doesn't know that you don't not drink anymore.
Well, I think we've mentioned it a few times.
Oh, I might have edited that part out though.
You might have edited, so this part doesn't even matter. It's gone. They think I'm just some loopy drunk.
Although, I think it might have came up on the Big Brother episode. I believe I left it in there.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. What are we doing today? What TV show are we going to explore?
So we're going way back for episode 50. We're going back to the late 50s / early 60s?
Yes.
So we're doing a show. This is a request. We should just get this right out.
Okay, I have to shout out to Ryan from Missouri.
And he is a fan of the podcast.
Yes, he listens. He actually listens to the podcast. He sends me comments on it, and he made this request, so we're doing it.
We educate him as well. There's things that he doesn't know about.
Yeah, we might get him in trouble one day, because he'll be Googling stuff at his desk.
Oh, he listens at work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, if you're at work, you do not want to add our homepage to your favorites for HR purposes. So please do not do that.
Yeah, probably not.
Unless you work at a super chill place, then it's probably okay. But shout out to Ryan. We are doing, I guess, is it his favorite show?
It's one of his favorite shows.
One of his favorite shows is The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it ran from, it was a CBS sitcom. It aired from 1959 to 1963 for, I believe, 4 seasons?
Yeah, 4 seasons.
And I've never seen this show before. I've heard the name.
You never saw this? You didn't watch this off of Nick at Night?
No, this must have been on too late for me, or maybe too early.
Maybe too early, because this is definitely one I watched.
This could have been one of the shows that came on while I was eating dinner, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew almost next to nothing about the show. So I was shocked when I saw that Bob Denver was actually a cast member of the show.
Oh yeah, you didn't know that. That's why I said it would be perfect for a segue into one of our later episodes we plan on doing.
Yes, so Bob Denver, who we know and love as Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, he plays a beatnik, Maynard Maynard G. Krebs?
Maynard G. Krebs.
So he's a beatnik. He is an 18-year-old beatnik. He has a goatee.
Mm-hmm.
He's very chill. He just kind of like lays back in class, and
he's just your like average sidekick, really.
And they kind of write him oafish. That's what I gathered from this episode. Like, he's kind of oafish.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if it was the writers trying to make fun of beatniks or not, because I know that was kind of like the counterculture at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how people feel about counterculture.
Oh, yes, of course.
So, beatniks were like pre-hippies. They were kind of like hipsters. They were into the arts.
Yeah, they're like the jazz fans. They do the finger snaps for poetry readings.
Yeah, think of like maybe Doug Funny's sister on the sitcom, the animated show Doug. Yeah, Judy Funny.
Totally.
She was a total beatnik. Ned Flanders' parents were also beatniks.
Mm-hmm, that is true.
The character of Midge on Mad Men, one of Don Draper's many flings throughout the 7-year run of that show.
Yeah.
Or 7-season run. It lasted longer than that because they broke up the seasons over years. But Midge, in the first season, I believe she was supposed to be a beatnik. She was like really... She was an aspiring illustrator. Then she turned out to be a heroin addict.
Oh, God, that just screams beatnik for a TV show.
Yeah, but like I think in the early... She came back later on, like at the end of the show's run, and they found out she had all these problems. But in the beginning, though, she was an aspiring illustrator. And I think we're beatniks into like the free love movement, or am I jumping ahead in time?
You're jumping ahead from what I know off the top of my head about beatniks, because really I don't know that much about beatniks, because I mean it's 2016 right now. We don't really deal with beatniks. We've got hipsters who probably wish they were beatniks.
And hipsters just really like Vampire Weekend, maybe. I don't know. That's probably too popular for them now, but
that's probably too popular. Yeah, they like man buns.
The only reason I'm thinking that Midge was a beatnik is into free love is because I think Don Draper invited her to Paris in an episode, and she didn't want to go because she was kind of like torn between multiple people. And I think she tried to like negotiate a orgy with Don Draper and other guys.
Oh, really?
It's been a long time since I've seen the first season of Mad Men, so maybe we need to revisit it.
You need to revisit it, and I need to actually visit it.
Well, there is a very famous Nixon-Kennedy episode that could possibly be used for Election Day.
Fancy.
We can give it a whirl. So should we talk about the episode that we're doing tonight?
Yes, let's actually talk about Dobie Gillis.
Alright, so we're doing a Season 2 episode, I believe.
Yes, we are doing Season 2, Episode... Was it 5?
I believe it was, Episode 5. It's called The Mystic Powers. So we're getting into the supernatural here. The Mystic Powers of Maynard G. Krebs.
Yes.
Not only is this show morphing from a sitcom, it's also turning into a supernatural drama and kind of like a political thriller too as well.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this episode if you just take the little bits and pieces. You got a lot of social commentary and all that good stuff. So
I believe this is one of the first shows that primarily dealt with teenager characters. All of the other family, like Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best, often dealt with the parents, and then the kids were kind of like underneath.
Yeah, it's like the kid, like even Leave It to Beaver, it wasn't just about the kids, and the parents were kind of there. This is about Dobie and Maynard and their wild, wacky situations at school with the snooty rich guy chasing girls, all that good stuff.
And the parents were like second fiddle, and like the teachers were second fiddle.
Yeah.
So this is like an early version of 90210, or maybe the OC.
This is like the original prototype of the future teen drama.
This episode starts off in school.
Yes, they are in their science class.
Is it science or is it psychology?
It is science. They have the same teacher for science and English, apparently.
So this teacher crops up in other episodes?
Yeah, he's actually, oh gosh, I think he was the dad on the Patty Duke show. He was one of those actors who was in like a million different things. Like you go to his Wikipedia page and it is one of the longest ones you will find.
So he's the psychology teacher / science teacher, and for some reason they decide they're going to do pseudoscience as their topic this week in class. I don't know why that's
William Shallert. That's his name.
So William Shallert. So what else has he been in?
Okay, I gotta look it up. My Wi-Fi is being a little slow. Sorry. Yeah, you can skip that part. I'll let it load and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so they were talking pseudoscience?
Is pseudoscience an appropriate subject for high school?
I think if you're trying to explain that there are different parts of science, maybe. I'm a little surprised. Well, of course, back then I think there was this fad about ESP. You know how every so often you get those fads where everybody's talking about ESP or aliens or Nostradamus. You know how it kind of cycles through that kind of thing every so often?
Yes, but in the 90s, it wasn't like after The Craft and Charmed came out, they didn't teach you witchcraft in school.
That's true.
But I have a theory that the teacher was brought into the school and he was designated to find students that had the ability to read minds, remote viewing, find lost objects, or foretell the future.
Yeah.
And the teacher has to be doubtful about these things because a student might be nervous about it, maybe?
Yeah.
But he lucks out because Maynard comes in, and he is kind of like a bumbling fool.
Yeah, he's just he's that guy. He shows up late to class. He's wearing the dirty clothes. He's just he doesn't care about his studies. That's who Maynard is.
And the professor / teacher or whatever it is trying to, I guess, talk down ESP, but I feel like there's a sinister plot in this town. So they're in the Midwest, I believe. Is it the Midwest?
I believe so, yes.
So they're away from the bustling cities. They're away from the coastal towns, and they're trying to find, I guess maybe, it's the Cold War. It's the Cold War time.
Yes, it is the Cold War time. I think we should take that into consideration.
So they're worried about Russia bombing us and annihilating us,
And all they have for protection is to duck and cover under their desks.
Yes. I guess if you have a student in your class who possesses the ability to foresee other things, you should roll with it. So,
oh yeah, you should totally be heck yes, we're grabbing onto this power.
But the teachers are supposed to be really sly about it, because I'm sure the students just don't want to come right out and say, oh, I have ESP, I can see all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
They have to walk around and say it's just coincidence.
Yeah, trying to disprove it. This doesn't really exist. Nobody really has ESP. Nobody's going to be able to tell me what's in my pockets, what this note from my wife says that I haven't even read, or any of that stuff.
Or if you go into a familiar room, it's called imperfect perception, which it just looks like a room you've been into.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever had that happen?
Where I've had deja vu, yeah, maybe. Gone into a room, been have I been here before? I don't think I've been here before, but it looks familiar kind of thing.
But I mean, you can only decorate a room so many ways, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you'd have unless you go for the idea of having a million outlets on the wall like me in my room. Because there's outlets everywhere.
But I feel like the government was trying to just weed out the hacks.
Yeah.
And just find people that were really capable of possessing the powers of ESP. Alright, so the teacher kind of being annoying about it. He's ESP is not real, but I have to teach us anyway because it's the new fad. People are into it. And Maynard is just kind of no, it's true, because in your pocket you have $3, you have a penny with a nick in Abraham Lincoln's nose, a bottle of aspirin, and a note from your wife. A very specific note from your wife.
It's don't go to the Nolan's grocer because we haven't paid the bill yet, so skip that.
This is pre-email, so it wasn't she could email or text you at work and say, hey, don't go to the grocery store, pharmacy later on because we owe them money. You actually had to put a note in someone's pocket, write it down, and then they would reach into their pocket when they get to work and look at it and go, all right, not going to the pharmacy today.
Yeah, you better hope they're reaching in their pocket throughout the day and they find that note.
The teacher is kind of shooken up by the whole ordeal, though.
Yeah, well then Maynard goes into even more details about his life. Like, you have these keys on your key ring, and this one goes to your safe deposit box, which has your marriage license and your kids' birth certificates and the rose you wore to your prom.
Going from pocket to pocket.
Yeah, like, Maynard just kept going. Like, the teacher was freaked out enough after the first pocket, but Maynard just kept going.
And this was, like, the first scene, so it wasn't like that episode of Saved by the Bell where, like, Screech gets electrocuted and is able to foresee the future. So there is no pretense to this.
Yeah, it's just, hey, Maynard happens to be able to see the future, or see something, has some kind of special power.
And you're waiting for something to happen at the end that explains it all, like, that'll wrap it up and be like, oh, this is, like, why he knows all this stuff, but there is none of that. They just say,
There's
like,
nothing.
They just explain that sometimes he's able to see the future and sometimes he's not? Is that how
Well, isn't there a moment when he's with Dobie where he says, you know, sometimes I ignore it because what's the fun of watching a football game if you know who's going to win?
Oh, yeah, that's the very next scene, because now it's after class. They're at the outside cafeteria.
Yeah, the lunch tables, which are outside, because they're always outside on TV.
I guess it's attractive for the screen, maybe?
It's always outside. It was outside on Beverly Hills 90210. It was outside on Lizzie McGuire.
I would have killed to have an outside cafeteria when I was in high school.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, I went to high school, 2 different high schools, and cafeterias were indoors. Like, you might, if it was nice enough, you might be allowed to go outside and eat, and maybe 1 or 2 of the tables they have out there, but it wasn't like there were dozens and dozens of tables to eat outside.
Was it a courtyard? Like, surrounded by building?
On the show, I think so, but not in real life. Not my school.
Well, I meant in real life. So you were able to go outside on a nice day freely?
No, it'd be like there's 2 tables outside, like, the cafeteria, and, like, you were maybe allowed to go outside if it was nice out.
But were there walls surrounding you?
No. There's, like, the parking lot, and then there's, like, this small area, probably like the size of my bedroom, so not very big. And it had like 2 tables, and it was just outside the cafeteria.
Were you able to escape?
No. Only if you flashed a yellow piece of paper that they thought was a pass. Well, that was the school in New Jersey. Because the school in Colorado, we had open campus. So we could just, like, leave, and nobody asked for a pass.
I always liked the school on Buffy and on 90210 because you would go outside to go to your next class.
That is a bitch, let me tell you.
That was a dream of mine. I could change anything in the world. Like, if I can go back in time, if I can, like, become another person, it would just be, I just want to go back to a time where I can be 15 and go from my science class to my English class, but be outside. Just maybe have, like, an awning cover you.
Yeah, okay. I had 1 class in high school that, actually I had 2 classes because it's the same teacher, that was out in one of those trailer, they put up, those trailer classrooms for when the school gets too crowded, but they can't actually build more classrooms. So I had, like, my first class of the day would always be in this trailer. And, like, it's like a trailer. You know what? You've never seen those?
No. Are you, like, one of those, like, FEMA? What are those, like, things that happened in New Orleans?
No,
FEMA
it was,
death
okay.
camps?
So, like, the school system I went to in Colorado, it was really crowded. They actually built a new high school. That's why my brother and I didn't go to the same high schools. Because my brother went to the brand new high school, and I went to the older high school, because they didn't accept my grade. And so, like, we had these buildings that were just, like, these old, they're just trailers. That's what they are. They're trailers, and they get, like, put up. So you might have a couple trailers, like, one end of the building and a couple trailers over here at another, where classes take place. Because there's no room in the school because the population's so big.
All right, I guess they didn't have the funds to build a new school?
But, well, they went and built a new school, but before the school was built, it was overcrowded.
Okay. I guess I don't get that, but I guess trailer park schools are totally a 90s thing?
I think they still have them somewhere, I'm sure. It wasn't like the whole school was a trailer. Like, there was actually a school building, and then there were, like, these additional trailers.
This was in Colorado?
Yeah, I was in Colorado.
Well, I mean, you're in the mountains. Things are more rugged.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it's allowed.
Yeah. Well, okay, my school in Colorado was like 3 times the population of my school in New Jersey.
All right, so we are in the outside cafeteria of this high school. Maynard and Dobie are eating lunch. And I guess they run over to the rich kid. Not Warren Beatty's character, who was in the first season, but his cousin Chatsworth.
Chatsworth.
Chatsworth Osborne.
Yes.
And he's waiting for his mom to roll up with the lunch, because I guess it is below them to, I guess, go to school with a paper bag.
Oh, but of course, he has to have a hamper arrive.
Momsy Osborne rolls up in, like, a Rolls Royce, basically.
Yeah, this fancy car with the chauffeur. She's bringing him, like, I don't even know why Mumsy came. Like, really, why didn't she just send the chauffeur with the lunch? Like, why did Mumsy come?
Yeah, she did a lot of work in this episode, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, she did a lot for, like, a rich lady who doesn't need to do jack. She did a lot of work.
Chatsworth, Dobie, and Maynard, they're outside discussing, I guess, the ESP thing. And
yeah.
Maynard's trying to swap his lunch with somebody, and he didn't want to swap with Dobie because they both had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So he thought maybe I'll try Chatsworth, but he didn't want whatever Chatsworth.
Well, Chatsworth had, like, goose liver and caviar, and Maynard's like, yeah, I don't think so. I'll go find somebody who's got, like, salami or ham or something.
But Momsy Osborne was right there. She was standing right there, and she's like, oh dear, that's exactly what's in there.
Yeah.
And she begins, like, quizzing him, like, about what's in her pocketbook, like, what's in her pockets. And she's just like, oh, darling, like, what is the name of that television station that I own? Talking to her son. And he's like, it's KASH, Cash TV.
Yeah.
And she's like, you need to come down to Cash TV. We have this, like, great TV show that you can come on and exploit your superpowers, basically.
The hot seat. Yes, because it's incredible, and the people will want to watch this boy try to prove that he has ESP. Let's be real. If somebody is, like, doing, like, psychic provings on TV, would you not watch that?
I'd watch it.
We would totally watch that. I know you and I would both be watching that. I mean, okay, one of my favorite TV shows is about a psychic medium, so...
Long Island Medium?
No. The Haunting of... But LMN hasn't finished airing the new season.
Sidebar, both hosts of this podcast, we love the supernatural. I'm surprised we don't have a supernatural spin-off of this podcast, but maybe someday. Maybe we'll get tired of regular TV.
Mm-hmm.
But we love ghost stories, we love psychic stories, and we also love monsters.
Yes.
Well, I do. I do anyway. I don't know what you do.
You're more into the monsters than I am. I'm definitely into the ghosts and...
Yeah. So we now scuttlebutt down to Cash TV, and there's a show called The Hot Seat, which I guess it's like, what was that show that was on a couple years ago? The guy that would pretend to, like, know what's going on in the audience. John Edwards? Was it John Edwards? It's kind of like that. It's just this guy, but he puts one person in a hot seat, and he has to, like, guess what's going on. Kind of. He has to, like, determine if the person is actually saying they're truthful or not.
Yeah, it's like that old game show, To Tell the Truth or something. Kind of like, it's like a mix of those two.
But it could be like Maury Povich too, in a way.
Yeah, it's like this weird, like, show where you have your host who is like this journalist guy who's gonna, like, he's presenting, like, the facts as they see it. And then there's, like, the panel of the three psychic experts who are like, there's no way this boy has ESP. He's not going to be able to tell us anything. And then Maynard is just, like, listing off the stuff in their pockets. He's like, you guys want to check your pens because they're all leaking. Like, I kind of wonder, did Maynard make their pens leak?
So he's going through, like, the contents of everyone's pockets. And he's just like, oh, you have a leaky pen in your pocket. And they're just like, whoa! Like, they don't even, like... They could have just planted that on them to begin with.
Yeah.
This is the era when... What was that game show, 21, where...
Yeah.
They would just pretend someone knew the answers to the show, but they were really being fed the information.
The whole quiz show thing. Yeah, that was, like, totally right about this time.
So we're in that era of time. So, like, you don't actually have, like, physical proof. You just have... a bumbling fool on stage just saying stuff, and then the person in the, I guess, the jury seat just reacting like oh my god. But you don't actually, like, no one is pulling stuff out of their pockets and saying this is, like, what I have in there.
They're just like, oh, well, how does he know? He's like, well, he must have done this, and the host is like, well, no, Maynard's been locked up in my office for the last 24 hours.
And we believe him. We believe it.
Yeah, I could totally see Mumsy locking Maynard up in this guy's office. I could totally see that happening.
And wasn't it really weird that Mumsy and Chatsworth, like, worked on this show, too?
Yeah, like, really? Okay. Well, I guess when you own the TV station, you can do pretty much whatever you want.
But, I mean, I figured if you owned the television network, you probably just go home, collect the money. You're not actually, like, the director or the producer.
Yeah, you're not the station manager. You're not the programming affiliate or whatever.
Like, Momsy was actually, like, the director, and Chatsworth was, like, the camera operator.
Oh my god, I missed that part. I missed the part where Chatsworth was operating the camera. Oh my gosh.
Momsy was calling the shots. Like, she was like, action.
Mm-hmm.
She's just, like, a rich, old Republican. She should just be at home counting her money, maybe writing her will or something. I don't know, whatever old ladies do.
Maybe she was just bored and the TV station was really just like her fun little project to work on. Because TV was still new.
It leads me into my next theory, because I think she has like there's a sinister political thriller going on behind the scenes here.
Okay.
Because I guess this episode aired around the time of the Nixon-Kennedy election.
Presidential election? Yeah.
Yes. So it's probably fall of 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Guess that Maynard has proven his ESP abilities, and Momsy asks him to come back the following week to predict the presidential election.
Yeah, the night before the election.
So it's the night before the election. Like, no one has even voted yet.
Yeah, no one's voted.
And he is going to go on live television, and it's broadcasted around the entire world. Like,
yes, because Maynard has basically gone viral at this point. He's like this viral sensation.
So this tiny television station in, like, mid-America, this little satellite is broadcasting through the entire world, and he is basically going to let everyone know the winner of the 1960 presidential election is if it's going to be Nixon or Kennedy. And there's a lot of, like, posters in this episode, too, that, like, so you see the conflict.
Yeah, you see Nixon, you see Kennedy. And then you see a big question mark between the two.
We are, like, in the beginning of the Cold War. There's so much going on in the world. So much pressure, so much stress. I guess you probably had these people with old money. They probably did not want to see Kennedy come into play because the Kennedy family were known as bootleggers, mob affiliation. They were Catholics. Like, John F. Kennedy was, like, the first Catholic president, so, like, you didn't want any of that stuff going on. So, like, Nixon was probably, like, he's, like, the one that everyone wanted to come into the presidency, and I guess if you have someone go on television who is claiming to be a psychic, just say, this is who wins, it's gonna sway the votes.
Oh, yeah, it's totally gonna sway the vote. Okay, could you imagine if the night before our election this year, somebody goes on TV and says, okay, I am psychic, and tomorrow Donald Trump is going to win the presidency.
Well, the first thing I would do is I would check to see if Ashton Kutcher was around. And when he doesn't pop his head out, I'd probably get a ticket to Canada.
Yeah. So, it's just like, why you can't prove that kind of thing because it would set off a chain of events that maybe would make it so that the other person actually won because it would light a fire under the butts of the other people.
These days we get those, like, early polls that tell you, like, who's in the lead at, like, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, maybe?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like those polls where they have, like, 0.005% of the polling places reporting back, and they declare a winner for the whole state.
The entire country's fate lies on, like, the state of Ohio or something like that. It's like
freaking Florida and those damn hanging chads.
It's one state that the whole balance of the entire nation hangs on.
Yeah.
So this is the 1960 version of that. Momsy decides that she's going to throw some dude on television who claims to have ESP powers.
Mm-hmm.
And Dobie, like, picks up on this. He's like, he's not, like, an incredibly smart person. He's like handsome, but he's not smart. He's like a C student, maybe, at best.
Yeah, he's just like your average guy. He's just average.
But he's all-American in a way, so
yeah, he's like your perfect all-American boy.
And he knows there's something wrong with this. He's like, you just can't go on TV and just say, like, tomorrow Nixon is going to be the winner of this election, because then people are not going to go out and vote for Kennedy. They're just going to go out and vote for Nixon. Because Americans are not intelligent, maybe? They're just going to believe whatever they see? Was that, like...
That, or, people are going to just say, oh, well, this is what's going to happen anyways. We might as well just throw our hands up and go with it.
Well, it's kind of like TV was new at this time.
Yeah.
So I guess whatever you saw on television had to be true, just like the way people see things on Facebook and believe it.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, here's this piece of clickbait. It must be true.
Momsy is a 1960 version of clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's more of a sinister plot to her, though.
Okay.
Is she the babushka lady from JFK's assassination?
Oh my gosh. What?
She could be. Like, you were telling me pre-podcast that you said there's no way she will ever set foot in Texas.
Yeah.
Which...
Well, actually, maybe she would have. What? I don't know why I thought that. I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, I could see her in Texas.
So, the babushka lady, I guess she was seen at the JFK assassination. She might have been dressed like a Russian woman.
Uh-huh.
People saw her on the time of the shooting, and then she kind of like disappeared on the grassy knoll, and she was never seen again. Very possible that Mumsy Osborne was always against Kennedy and was maybe trying to sway the election towards Nixon.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, there's a lot of nefarious plots going on in this town.
We may never know.
We'll never know. I mean, this show is, on the surface, it's a sitcom / teen drama, but underneath, there's a lot of evil going on.
Very well.
And I guess what ends up happening is Dobie he's outside, I guess, the television presentation, and he's talking to a wall, which has the Nixon...
Yeah, he's in the alley talking.
So there's a poster of Nixon, there's a poster of JFK, and in the middle is a picture of Maynard, and he's pleading to the wall that Maynard does not reveal who the president is to the entire nation. But I guess he wrote it down ahead of time, just to be safe.
Maynard wrote down who he saw as the winner and gave it to Dobie to prove to Dobie that he had this power.
And Maynard hears the pleas from inside the building. He runs out and he's like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. He's like, fuck it. He's like, I'm just going to be an American hero.
Yeah.
Tonight. I'm not doing anything. And we cut to the next day. I guess the election happened. So this is probably like filmed just before the actual election day.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is this filmed right before the election, so they couldn't actually say who won. They had to allude.
But you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, that's right, he was right. That kind of impression.
Yeah.
But I guess Maynard wrote down the wrong candidate.
Yeah, so we are left to believe that Maynard wrote down Nixon instead of Kennedy.
Yes, so Maynard wrote down Nixon instead of Kennedy, but did he do it because he just chose not to hear the right answer? Because he did allude that he had ESP powers, but he only used it when he chose to.
Yeah, I think it was one of those he chose not to use it kind of things.
Yeah, he just wanted to kind of like let the fate of nations lie in its own hand, which probably led Momsy Osborne to her own nefarious plot. It's very like Manchurian Candidate going on.
Yeah. There. Oh my god, this episode is so dark now that I think about it. Like, wow, you took me to a whole new place with this episode, Patrick.
Yeah, like you didn't see any of this stuff while you were watching it?
No, I was more into like the whole idea of Maynard turning on and off his powers, because there's like, actually the book I'm reading right now is by a psychic medium, and she's talking about how her powers, she can channel into her powers, and she can like ignore them in a way. Like she's like gotten to the point where she knows like how to get to that place she needs to be to talk to the spirit, and how to not be in that place, that frame of mind kind of thing.
On a lighter note, can we like bring the podcast to a lighter note?
Yeah, let's bring it to a much lighter note. What's up?
All right, and it's not really that much of a lighter note. So the show is called The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. So he is a slut, let's just say.
Oh my gosh. Why do you have to use the word slut?
He is a man whore. Dobie Gillis is a man whore.
So I guess through the course of like the 4 years of the show, he's had like hundreds of girlfriends.
Like, he has a bunch of different girlfriends. Like, he has a few steady ones for a while.
They're ones that like pop up like throughout the show.
Yeah. Like, there's like one he had during season 1 played by Tuesday Wells, and then she like broke up with him. And then there's another girl who's like totally in love with him, but she's not like a total looker, so he doesn't give her the time of day.
So there's a fun fact. So the cartoon Scooby-Doo is loosely based on these characters. So Dobie's supposed to be Fred. Maynard is supposed to be Shaggy. Velma is the one that you were just talking about. I believe her name is Zelda in this show.
Yeah, Zelda. I was blanking on her name.
And Daphne was the other one that you just mentioned as well.
Okay.
So the characters from Scooby-Doo are just loosely based on these characters.
Wow, okay, my mind is blown right now. My mind is so blown.
And they just threw in a dog for good measure. Like a talking dog.
They just threw in a dog.
And like dark mysteries. So the show eventually ran its course. Mm-hmm. And I guess we all know what happens to Maynard in the end. He becomes landlocked on a small island.
Yes, he gets landlocked on a small island with the skipper, the professor, the Marianne, the millionaire, his wife, the movie star.
All right, so I guess this series has been sequelized over the years. So they brought it back a few times. I guess there were some TV movies in the 70s and 80s.
Yes, which I have not tracked down yet. So if anybody has a copy of Bring Me the Head of Dobie Gillis, you gotta let us know. I haven't found it. I haven't looked lately, though.
All right, we will find it and we will do it for a future episode. But I am sure if anyone has it, definitely send us a tweet. We are at Very Podcast. You can definitely send us there and we will give you a mailing address. Mm-hmm. And you can send us the videotape /DVD. Hopefully there's a DVD because I don't have VHS anymore.
I think there's a VHS player around here somewhere. Probably in the room across the hall.
All right, so should we talk about what we are doing next?
Yeah, what are we doing next? I don't even know what we're doing next. We're doing so much stuff. I've got like a whole list on my wall.
All right, so if you listened to our last episode, we did Murder, She Wrote. This week we did Dobie Gillis, so we decided to just go into the future a lot. So we are going to do Fuller House.
Woo! Fuller House!
We decided to watch the pilot episode. You can find it on Netflix. And it's kind of like just a blow me down of everyone who came back.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, all these people back on screen, let's just toss them on and see what happens.
So join us next week when we watch Fuller House for the first time. And I guess, as always...
Bye!